Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, Pete. How are you today?
I'm well, Ethan. How are you?
I am good. And as you can tell from my voice, I'm super stoked about the topic that we're talking about today. Usually, when we do a review, we have to give a spoiler alert. But since now we're doing what would you
preview.
call it? A preview, a prep session, if you will. We don't have to give that warning. We can't possibly give anything away because we don't know anything.
That's right. Well, we know some things, but not a lot of things.
That's true. It's refreshing. I don't feel the emotional baggage of letting people down by telling them something that they didn't otherwise know or want to know. It's refreshing.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So what are we talking about today before we get too far into the expectations?
We are talking about DC Comics' own Batman. Quite possibly the Batman. Quite possibly the most famous superhero around.
I think that's true. Right?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of recognition,
maybe
probably top.
Spider-Man,
Definitely top
Spider-Man,
three.
Batman. Yeah.
Spider-Man and Batman always fighting for the first and second spot.
So we haven't seen. When's the last time we saw Batman? The last time we saw Batman, it was Ben Affleck. What year was this?
Justice League.
So what year was it?
That was, I gotta say,
2017.
maybe? 2017. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, 2017 was Justice League. But then what you're thinking of is, remember, there was Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, that's right.
They
did a re-release. Yeah.
Yep. And then Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, was in 2016. So 2016, 2017, it's been a while since we've seen a standalone Batman movie, right?
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
prior to that,
and let's say even longer since we've seen a good standalone Batman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shots fired. That's right. I said it. I said it. Bring it on, DC fans. I'll take it.
Let's get it out of the way. For me, the real Batman really began. Sorry about that. Batman really began with Michael Keaton. For me, Michael 100%. Keaton was Batman. What year was this? This was 1989.
Yeah.
Just look at that cast. Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Kim Basinger. Basically.
Yeah. And we're going to, by the way, let's preface this. We're going to spend most of our time talking about Batman in cinema, not the TV shows. Because if you're going to do TV shows, if you're going to, there's a lot. Which, by the way, very good.
Yeah.
But like the animated shows, then you had the TV shows, whether it's the 66 original with Adam West or, there's a lot of representations of Batman, whether it's in real life or animated. We're just going to stick to the cinematic universe or universes because they're obviously all different now.
Can we do something, Pete? Let me, just to recap, kind of the Batmans, let me read them off. The year that they were made and kind of the main characters, and you give me like just keyword impressions of what you recall or what you think of those, okay?
Okay, let's do it.
So Batman, 1989, Michael Keaton, Nicholson, Basinger. What's your thought?
Perfect.
Oh
yeah, I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, that was the original. I mean, this was Jack Nicholson as a Joker, which, I mean, used to be a buffoon. He brought it to life. And since that time, the Joker's been, like, pretty iconic, right? Everyone
Absolutely.
wants to be the Joker now.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? All right. 3 years later, 1992, Batman Returns. Starring Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, and Michelle Pfeiffer, and Christopher Walken. Oh.
Yeah, I think my first thought would be Penguin, because really that's what I remember the most about that movie.
Yeah. Okay. 3 years later, we have a theme. 89, 92, 95. Batman Forever. Now Batman's super mainstream. Val Kilmer. Tommy Lee Jones. Jim Carrey. Nicole Kidman. What a cast. What do you think?
Yeah. I thought that was really bad. I thought it was
bad,
really
right?
bad. It was also the introduction of not Chris O'Donnell, but Chris O'Donnell's character, Robin.
Was it?
Yeah, Robin's in this movie.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. I remember a really awful sequence where they tried to make it really funny based on the original Batman series where they get on a fake island in the middle of the water and he goes, holy moly, or something like that. See, you can see the holes. It was really bad. It was just a really bad pun.
Yeah, I don't remember this. I felt like this one was too many. I mean, Jim Carrey, this must have been the height of Jim Carrey, right? Nicole Kidman.
This was, when Jim Carrey had really just broken out. I think he had done Dumb and Dumber. He had done like all these slapstick comedy movies.
Yeah. All right. So he was the Riddler. Then 2 years later, 95, 97, Batman and Robin. Who is it? It's
Clooney.
George Clooney. Clooney replacing Val Kilmer. I don't know. Uma Thurman. Oh, interesting. Chris O'Donnell and as Dr. Freeze, or Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. The one word I remember from this is nipples, because they put nipples on the batsuit.
They put the nipples on the batsuit. I remember that there was, I think U2 did the soundtrack. I thought this was like when Batman just went like totally MTV on us. I thought that U2 did the soundtrack for this. And the soundtrack had more...
Are you sure it was U2 and it wasn't Seal? Didn't he do Kiss from a Rose for this movie?
Oh, maybe. I'll tell you, the scores of Batman and Robin is 3.8. And to put that in perspective...
Out of 10? Or out of 100?
I think out of 10. Still bad. And
still bad.
Prior to that, Batman Forever with Val Kilmer was 5.4. Still pretty bad. Batman Begins, 3 years prior, was 7. And Batman, the original one, 1989, was 7.5. So tell me if you see a pattern. Just tell me if you see a pattern, Pete. Okay? 7.5, then 7, then 5.4, then 3.8. Take a moment. If you need to plot these out on some graphing paper.
Hold on. Let me launch Microsoft Excel.
Hold on. You may need like a ruler or something, a straight edge to.
Let's see if I can find the slope. Sounds very negative.
Sounds negative. All right. So we took a break from 1997 Batman and Robin to 2005 Batman Begins. They brought in Christopher Nolan. They started to straighten stuff out, right? They brought in Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Liam Neeson. Batman Begins. We're back at 8.2. Right, and this is really the start of the Dark Knight trilogy, right? The 3 with Christopher Nolan as director.
That's right. Where he's really referred to as the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
So.
What a great nickname. Where did that come from? Was that always the... Yeah.
I think it's one of his monikers from the comics.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so 2005, Batman Begins. 3 years later, 2008, The Dark Knight. Okay. And 2012, 4 years later, The Dark Knight Rises. I mean, that's a very good 3 movies, 7 years, all with Christian Bale. Of course, the second one, The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger as the Joker, right? Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face. Dark Knight Rises had Christian Bale, Tom Hardy, remember, as Bane, Anne Hathaway strutting around as... I don't know, someone.
Selena Kyle, Catwoman.
Yeah, Catwoman. And Gary Oldman, Commissioner Gordon, right?
Yep.
So that's 2012. Then we took a big break, right? And then
wait, how did they do in terms of ratings for Begins, Dark Knight, and Rises?
Great question.
Because I think that...
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
8.2. 9 for the Dark Knight, and then down to 8.4. But all...
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I mean, and all those are pretty solid. Yeah.
I think The Dark Knight Rises was the worst of the trilogy, and I couldn't stand that film.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think Bane was very good, though. Bane was, I think, a very good...
That's really funny because I think that he was the weakest point in that film.
Really?
For me, I did not like Tom Hardy as Bane.
Oh. You didn't like Tom Hardy as Bane, or you didn't like Bane?
I love Bane, but I didn't like Tom Hardy as Bane, and I didn't like how they presented Bane in the universe.
That's true. I mean, definitely the second one, The Dark Knight with the Joker, was probably the most iconic, right?
By far. By far.
Okay, so this was that very good 7-year run, 2005 to 2012. Christian Bale, I think that was when he really took Batman to a new level. Then there's a whole bunch of Lego Batmans. Blah-de-blah-de-blah.
Which, by the way, I really like the Lego Batman movie.
I love the Lego Batmans. I think if anyone hasn't seen any Lego movie...
that's the one to watch.
Yeah, Lego Batman.
It's very good.
It is indeed. And then there's... then we get to Justice League. So 2012, the trilogy ended. 5 years later, Justice League, where the new Batman is who? Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, that's right.
Batfleck. What did you think of that at the time that it was announced? Were you confused? Was it more confusion than unhappiness?
I was neither unhappy nor confused because, so as I've said previously, I've always seen the character of Batman as really being a split character. I always have to see them as Bruce Wayne and Ben Affleck, not Ben Affleck, as Batman, right? And if you look at Ben Affleck and the way he's been in other movies, and when you see him in a tuxedo, man, you can't help but like him as Bruce Wayne. Like I see him as I think in terms of Bruce Wayne's, I rank him very highly, right? In terms
can I just let me just give you a quick pat on the back or some accolades. I have to say that's a very, very good way of looking at this, because you're right, they are two different characters, right? We don't look at Superman as Clark Kent and Superman, we just say Superman. Whereas you're right that more than any other character, Batman has a prominent alter ego with his own personality, and absolutely right that there is a different way to portray Bruce Wayne versus Batman. And I'm with you, until you pointed that out, I never saw it. I only looked at the people playing Batman. And yes, Affleck does it. I mean, I thought that Christian Bale did it okay. I can think of kind of one or two kind of iconic scenes with him, but you're right. I thought that realistically, the gravitas that Bruce Wayne probably has was more Ben Affleck-like.
Yeah, I look at it this way. I mean, I look at, if you're going to cast a Bruce Wayne and Batman, right? I look at it as, imagine a guy in a tuxedo versus a guy in the bat suit. Don't get me wrong. Physically, all of them have been able to do both, obviously, right? It's just a suit at the end of the day. But in terms of can he pull off the smarmy billionaire who seems indifferent to the ills of Gotham society, I think Ben Affleck in a tuxedo embodies that the best out of all of them that we've seen, with the close exception that I think Michael Keaton could have pulled it off equally well.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. Let me just make one comment on that. When Ben Affleck plays Bruce Wayne, you can kind of see that the guy is like strong and fit. So you can kind of, I think in my mind, I can see him going to the Batcave and putting on the suit and like fighting people. Michael Keaton, bless him, played, I mean, for me, he really, revitalized that Batman character. But I agree, when you see him in a tuxedo, you don't really imagine him going down to the Batcave and, starting to, like punch some people. So
yeah, and that was also the product of its time. I mean, actors weren't expected to really bulk up or slim down for roles. True. When you were cast, you were cast as that one person, right? Nowadays, if I get cast to play a new character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you can bet
we're waiting for that call. We're waiting for that call.
You can bet your ass Kevin Feige is going to send me to some camp in the middle of the desert to lose a couple pounds and to put on 50 pounds in muscle and to, really look like I could be a superhero, right? Even though I obviously am not. So that's
disclaimer. I like the disclaimer.
Yeah. Wink, wink. But that is the expectation, I think, of superhero castings today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, and this is not a gender issue. I think this also applies to women. Look at Brie Larson. She bulked up like crazy. If you see some of her training videos, my God, it's the most impressive thing I've ever seen is when you see Brie Larson absolutely killing it in the gym before she goes on screen as Captain Marvel.
That's right. So now that takes us to the Batman, Robert Pattinson. What do you think? I mean, this is directed by Matt Reeves, right? So Christopher Nolan's out. Zack Snyder is out. You've already said
Josh
that you
Whedon's
liked.
Out.
Yep. You said you already liked, Affleck as a Bruce Wayne. What do you think of Pattinson as a potential Bruce Wayne, as a potential Batman?
So we haven't seen much. We haven't seen much of Pattinson in a suit, except for a few small clips here and there on trailers.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would imagine he's more aligned to Bruce Wayne, akin to Michael Keaton, which is to say he doesn't look super bulky because, I can't help but even now to date think of Robert Pattinson as, the vampire from Twilight, right? Which was a thin, scrawny guy. And I don't know if he's put on any muscle or not. They've not really highlighted any case for that. Yeah. But even then, he seems like a slighter, a more svelte character or a human as a person, right? He doesn't seem like a big, bulky guy. That's not to say he isn't strong. He could very well be. But I hear you on that, but I have to say, based on, there's, like you said, there's very limited trailers and scenes, but what I've seen, this Batman seems maybe not Christopher Nolan dark, but a little bit darker and aggressive. And I thought some of the fight scenes looked pretty brutal as well. So I'm kind of assuming whether it's because he's got broader shoulders because he's been on this, DC training program, or they've just, put like a pretty big suit on him. I imagine he's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of physicality involved in this movie. It didn't seem to me like this is a finesse Batman. It seemed like this is just like there's a time when, James Bond didn't get blood on his shirt, and then they changed all that around with Quantum of Solace, right? Right. So I think that think we're going to see a physicality for sure. Yeah. I believe that with this reboot of Batman, they're also doing like a reboot of the Year One Batman, which is in the comics when you have Batman Year One, it's basically him learning to be Batman, right? And we saw bits and pieces of it in Batman Begins, and in the comics and in some of the animated shows, when you see him first don the suit and the cowl, he is a brutal Batman in the sense that he makes a statement to the underworld by beating the living hell out of bad guys in front of other bad guys, right? Yeah. Because that's how he generates this aura of fear, is that these villains aren't going to understand the nuance of being a threat until you beat the living crap out of one of them. And that's why I think this is going to be the physical side. When I say physicality, he's going to be aggressive. When I say physicality, I don't mean non-aggressive. I mean physicality as in literally physically bigger, bulkier. I think that he looks svelte. He looks on the skinny side. Not a bad thing, not a good thing, no comment. Just what I think I see from the trailers. But I think that because it's a Year One adaptation, I think this is going to see him be super aggressive, which is why in that one trailer where we see him beat the snot out of this one guy, it looks brutal. It looks absolutely brutal. And it looks equally as brutal as when you see Ben Affleck's Batman kicking the living daylights out of the thugs in the warehouse in Batman versus Superman, which was, to date, I still think that was the best Batman fight scene we've ever seen on TV. And bordering on excessive, but like if that were a year one interpretation of Batman, chef's kiss. I think that would have been perfect.
I mean, Batman, how old do you think Batman is? I mean, if this is year one of Batman, how old is Batman intended to be? Is he in his
late 20s? Late 20s, I guess.
I mean, the story of, Bruce Wayne is well known, right? He's going with his mother and father to cinema in downtown Gotham. They get mugged in the back alley, and his mother's pearls get ripped off, and both his parents get shot in front of him. And he's like a very young kid, right? 7, 8, 12, right? Something like this. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then he goes to school, gets educated, takes over, Wayne Industries or Wayne Enterprises. And then we think that he kind of becomes the Batman in the mid-20s. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, the timeline's not super clear, but yes, I would agree. It depends on which universe you're looking at, but yes, in general, that's the rough timeline is that. Like mid to late 20s is when he becomes Batman.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we've seen that, I think, with Bale a little bit, right? We didn't see it so much with Michael Keaton. We didn't see it at all with Val Kilmer. We didn't see it at all with George Clooney, but we saw it a little bit with Christian Bale, right? There was a little bit of backstory.
Yes.
But I think we're done with the backstory. I mean, I don't think...
God, I hope so. God, right? I hope so.
Yeah, I don't think they need to reiterate that. But I'm okay if we would, skip back only to kind of like the mid to late 20s when, Bruce Wayne decides that he wants to, take on this alter ego and see some of his training. I'd be okay with that.
I think we, like Spider-Man, we're all tired of seeing Aunt May or Uncle Ben bite the bullet. I'm sick and tired of hearing the story and seeing the story of Bruce Wayne's parents dying. We get it. By now, Batman is no longer a part of like this niche comic book culture. Batman, like Spider-Man, like Superman, is a part of the cultural zeitgeist. Everyone knows, when you say Batman, everyone knows the story, right? Yeah. And unless you literally are living under a rock, like nobody doesn't know that story. So we can move on from that. And I think that's one of the things is that, the problem I had with Zack Snyder's movies were that he kept that as an anchor weighing, and that really weighs you down, and you don't need to rehash things like that, Yeah.
So is this, if we're looking at the chronology of things, right? Because now the DC universe, whatever that means, is trying to become a more cohesive place, right? So, okay, we had Justice League. We're coming back with, a new Aquaman. Where's this Batman fitting into that?
No idea. And I hope that it's a pure standalone Batman movie with no implications of a wider DC universe and only an implication of the Batman universe.
I'm sorry to break your bubble. I only say that because that just doesn't seem to be the way that things go, right? And even if that's the case, I mean, if this is a one-off Batman movie, it doesn't seem like that makes sense. Like, so they're going to disrupt the universe just to have this one-off kind of prequel, and Robert Pattinson's just going to play this one time, and we're going to be happy with Ben Affleck's backstory in terms of how he became Batman, and then we go back to knowing it's now Ben Affleck and he's in Justice League and so forth. It just seems like that's making a story that, I mean, we've just been criticizing what's happened with Justice League, right? It seems like that's making something that's pretty confusing a whole lot worse. It would be better if they just said, hey, let's scrap all of that and let's kind of like start over. But I don't think this could be a one-off. I mean, as much publicity as this has gotten, the fact that they've engaged Pattinson, it doesn't seem like this is just a Batman in his youth kind of film, and they're going to say, okay, go back to, getting your head around Justice League. This is what we're doing next with Aquaman coming out and The Flash coming out and Wonder Woman 1994 coming out and so forth. Ben Affleck is back. Or he's not back. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm interested to see this, because there's got to be some clues in terms of where the Justice League, whoever is in the Justice League, is going from here, right?
So I think a lot of this is also going to depend on the Flash movie.
Oh.
Because I believe the Flash movie is going to set up the idea of the multiverse and the DC multiverse.
How would that work?
And
how does the DC multiverse work? We understand MCU. They've kind of given us, the keys to how that works. But how does DC multiverse work in the comics?
So in the comics, the Flash, Barry actually discovers that if he runs fast enough, he can generate portals in the Speed Force that connect to other universes. Right? And maybe that's not exactly it, but the idea is that he is able to connect different universes through the Speed Force by running fast enough, right? And in the Flash TV show, for example, they make that an explicit part of this TV series. So I have a sneaking suspicion this is how, and so it's rumored that we're going to see Michael Keaton as the Batman in the Flash movie and Ben Affleck as Batman. I have a sneaking suspicion that these guys are making Matt Reeves' Batman movie as a standalone universe, and maybe they'll have that potentially connect into the DC's extended universe. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. Well, I don't know. But that's I think how they're going to connect the two, or connect the 4 or 5 or however many universes they want. It's not an elegant way, but it is a way to allow DC to continue making standalone movies that aren't connected or weighed down by the extended universe. Which is a problem that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has, which is to say, hey, we're only focusing on this universe. How do you justify the Avengers not doing something when Spider-Man's facing a threat? You know what I mean? Like, there's always been, that question always comes up. Where the hell were the Eternals when the Avengers were fighting Thanos? All of these things always come up, and they've always come up with...
Where was League of Justice when Peacemaker was trying to kill the cow?
You see what exactly, right? So all these kinds of questions kind of get swept under the rug by saying, well, we have a multiverse.
Yeah.
Right? And Marvel is now introducing that after 20 years in the cinemas. DC is kind of saying, hey, we're going to have that from that get-go. So that's what I feel. I don't know. Obviously, only time will tell. But I really think it won't be this movie that answers that question. I think it'll be the Flash movie that answers that question.
When is Flash coming out?
That is a wonderful question. And I think it's coming out, let's see. November of this year, according to...
November 2022?
Yeah.
And when is Aquaman coming out?
It's a good question. Aquaman 2. I thought this was...
Is there a calendar of...
Oh, December, apparently.
December so Flash, then Aquaman?
Yeah.
Huh.
I thought Flash was going to come out this summer, but I guess they're not going to have any summer films, which is a bit surprising.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I would have expected them to have a summer movie, but I guess not. Oh, maybe Black Adam is this summer. Hold on. That's how little I care about the Black Adam series. Yeah, it is. No, Black Adam is July 29th. That's their summer. That's going to be their summer splash.
Actually, DC has given me their own spoiler. Because if you look at IMDb and you look at The Flash, the 2022 that's coming out, Ben Affleck is listed as Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and from what I've heard, that's going to be his last appearance as Batman, which is a shame because I get that, he faced a lot of backlash in Justice League and Batman versus Superman, not his fault. And I think that really,
Ben Affleck has, if you look at, we may need a separate episode just on the career of Ben Affleck, right? I mean, probably a more interesting, when you include his his personal life, he's had a really interesting career that's had, it started with very high highs, hit kind of some lows where he was almost written off. And he's kind of worked his way back to being maybe not super A-list, but decently well-respected for some of his stuff, right?
And I think it's a lot of because of his work behind the camera. I think he's done, with The Town, with Argo. He did a lot of really good work behind. Classic. But yeah, so I think that's why he's gained a lot of, let's say, credibility in Hollywood.
Mm. Yeah. Okay, so I have to say, also Michael Keaton's listed as Batman.
Yep.
In this as well. So those two are in, and then we're going to have Aquaman a little bit later, right?
Yep. Just a month later. Should
we see who's listed there?
I honestly couldn't care less.
Dare we? Oh, you know what? On IMDb, there is no Aquaman listed for 2022.
We've got Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson.
But this is the old one, right? You're looking at the 2018 one, right?
No. I'm looking at Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's called Aquaman and the Last Kingdom?
Lost Kingdom.
Oh.
The guy who played Morpheus in the reboot, he's in there.
Morpheus.
Oh, the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba is
Tamura.
in there. Yeah, Tamura is in there.
He's also
Dolph Lundgren's in there.
Yeah. Tamura is also in Flash as well.
I wonder who he's playing.
It says Tom Curry, but who's Tom Curry?
Oh, duh, his father.
Oh.
That's Aquaman's
Alan's
dad.
father's... Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
How was he in The Flash? He's also playing... Interesting.
Okay, well, there you go. Wow. Okay. So, see, that's what I mean. I wish them all the best. I like these comics characters. I really do enjoy the characters. I think that Warner Brothers has really flopped the movies. I think their animated movies have done a far better job of portraying the characters than the cinematic movies have.
Yeah. I mean, do you think this is a matter of, even when you're looking at Batman, right? Who's playing the Riddler here?
Paul Dano, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe it's Paul Dano. Or Dano, or however you say it.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Paul Dano. And that's an interesting casting choice, and I think that's a really good one, too.
What else have I seen him in?
He was in Looper. He played JGL's best friend in Looper. He was in
Little Miss Sunshine.
Yes.
Where he wanted to be the pilot, remember? And then they found out, oh man, we should rewatch that movie. What was the guy from The Office who was in that?
From The Office?
Yeah. Who was the Michael in The Office? Steve Carell.
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, right?
Yeah. So Paul Dano, I think I gave him a lot of credit after. I don't know if you ever watched it. It was a small film with Harry Potter, Swiss Army Man.
Yes.
I saw Swiss Army Man. I really liked it. I thought Paul Dano was really good in it,
Yep.
and I thought that was an interesting film.
Yeah.
So that's where he really popped up on the screen for me. That's where he really stood out.
He's the Riddler. So he's going to be the Riddler.
Yeah.
Is a Riddler supposed to be like a clever killer? Is he supposed to be a physical killer? Like what's his MO?
The Riddler is the only in the comics, if I remember correctly, the Riddler is one of two bad guys that figures out who Batman actually is, whose his secret identity is.
Oh, really? Who's the other one?
Bane, funnily enough.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So he's supposed to just be like this guy who's like 10 steps ahead of everyone. And so he's not known as like a killer, as in like a physical killer. He's just a guy who causes a lot of havoc, or at least that's the Riddler I know.
Because when you look at the trailer, right, the Batman trailer, it looks, I have to say, it looks very Christopher Nolan-ish, doesn't it?
It looks very dark. It looks very dark and mysterious.
A lot of darks and a lot of rain. Like. Even the movie poster, or at least one of the movie posters I've seen, is this deep red background, right? The silhouette of Batman, rain seemingly coming down. These seem very, Christopher Nolan-ish, which maybe is inspired by him because it was such a popular trilogy, and then things went a little bit, even though Zack Snyder tried to go dark. So this is something that we have to see. And your prediction is that this is kind of a one-off, a bridge until we get to Flash, a bridge until we get to Aquaman.
I don't even think it's going to be a bridge to Flash. I think that it's going to be a standard one-off movie that, if it does well and if they want to integrate into the movies, into the extended universe, I think they're going to find a way to do that. I hope they don't, but we'll see. It's to be determined.
Why do you think they chose Matt Reeves as the director?
Not sure, to be honest.
He's done.
What do you think?
For me, he's done Planet of the Apes, right? That's what I know him from.
I know him from Cloverfield.
Cloverfield, yeah.
And I guess you're right. The Planet of the Apes too. That's right.
Yeah, I think he did. I can't remember if he did all 3 of those Planet of the Apes. I know he did at least 2 of them.
He definitely did 2. I don't think he did the 3rd.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I know, but I don't have a strong perception
affinity for
of
that.
I was going to say, I don't have a strong perception of his style as a director.
I think
there's some.
It seems really limited in terms of filmography, and then if you're looking at it, it also seems super varied.
Yeah, but can I say that that's a little bit refreshing? We've become not accustomed, but we've become accepting of the director, whether it's Snyder, Gunn, Michael Bay, Christopher Nolan, who have these distinct styles that kind of could, kind of like drown out the movie itself. With whether it's lens flares or extreme explosions or, the way that they're filmed or something, kind of like dictate, the pace and the theme of the movie. It's nice to have someone who's maybe a little bit neutral, talented nonetheless, but neutral, and says, hey, let's just let the story unfold, This is not about me and how I'm going to, overtake, or drown out the story. This is about me just letting the story unfold naturally. So maybe that's a little bit refreshing and probably something that we should be seeing more often. So there's so many good shows that, we don't know who the director is, but the director's talented nonetheless. And that's actually kind of their role, is to, let the story be told and not to drown that out with their own style.
Yeah, I think it depends on the style. I think, if you look at J.J. Abrams and his passion for lens flares, for example, or, who else can we think of? Michael Bay and his explosions. Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that you and I know that, I think, is a bad sign. I don't think that anyone should be known for a lens flare. I would never even notice a lens flare, if it weren't for the fact that it had become, so prominent. So I think
I don't know if it's a bad thing. Sign. I just think that's it's a stylistic choice. And I think where it becomes a problem when it's overused, whenever a stylistic choice is overused. Like half of Star Trek, it was all lens flares, right?
Oh, yes.
And you were just like, okay, I'm done. I'm tired. That's too much. Like, I need to see what's going on screen. In that regard, I agree when it's overused.
Yeah.
Or like Michael Bay, like half the female characters are in bikinis and the other half are driving Ferraris through explosions, which again, enough, So We get it. You like beautiful women in bikinis, and you like fast cars going through explosions.
And
American flags. Or to a lesser extent, okay, John Woo, we get it. You like white doves, like we get that you like doves going through a door or through a window to create a distraction. Yeah, but when it's done once in a while, it's fine. I don't think there's a problem with that. Like what's his face and one takes. Michael Scorsese loves his one takes.
I love one takes though.
I like one takes too. I think that's fine. Or long takes rather, not a one take. But I think that's okay. I don't think that takes away from anything. Right. But when it gets in the way of the story, I'm with you.
Do we have more to say about the Batman? Or should you and I exchange ideas of what we're watching right now and what we're excited to watch about?
I'm done with Batman, so let's talk about what's on or what we should be watching.
What are you watching right now? Are you watching anything new? Because now we just talked about, on a prior episode, we talked about that we finished Peacemaker. I'm always watching Expanse and trying to catch up to you. What else have you been focused on lately?
Hilariously enough, there's been nothing that I've wanted to see at all. And I know this is like a sin, but like I can't get myself to watch anything that
Don't tell your boss. Don't tell your boss. You might not have a job anymore.
But it's just I'm struggling to find that next show to binge or to actively look forward to. And, of course, besides the obvious, which we've seen with Moon Knight and with anything else. So maybe you have some recommendations for me.
So I've got two things that I've been watching on Apple TV Plus. And I just started them. I'm always watching Expanse. I mean, I think I've said more than once, and you got me into Expanse, how much I love it, but it's long. I think there's 6 seasons. I'm on season 3, so that's really my primary focus.
Right.
But the other two things that I've tried this week are both on Apple TV Plus. Oh, actually 3 things.
Ooh, okay.
On Apple TV Plus. The first one is Suspicion. Have you heard this?
So I've heard it, but I'm getting confused because I know there are 2 S shows, and I don't know which is which.
So Suspicion is on Apple TV Plus. There's a new episode. Now, Apple TV is doing this thing where every Friday they're releasing kind of one episode. So I caught it, and I've watched I think I'm on episode 4 or 5, but I started late, so I was able to kind of watch all 4 at the same time. Main character, Uma Thurman, and this is about, I'm not going to do spoilers, but I'll just give the general plot and then my thoughts. Uma Thurman runs a very successful business. Her son is kidnapped, and the kidnappers obviously have some requests, and there's 4 or 5 potential suspects. They're all arrested, released, and at this stage, with 4 or 5 episodes into it, we're supposed to have kind of some ideas in terms of one or more of these suspects. Are they all in cahoots with each other? Are they all innocent and there's just some random coincidences that cause them to potentially be suspects? Are they lying? We know that there's some things that don't add up and so forth. So it's a little bit of a kidnap mystery. I have to say I'm pretty compelled. It takes place mostly in London. All the suspects are British in London. Uma Thurman's company is in New York. So obviously it's hitting those 2 big demographics, UK and US. I have to say I like it so far. It's definitely, I would say it's somewhere between Mooch and Subscribe. But I'm quite smitten with it, and I want to continue to see it out. Not so much because of the mysteries that surround it, but I just kind of like the storylines and I like the folks, so it's something that I want to continue with. It's got pretty good ratings, but it hasn't gotten to Game of Thrones or Sopranos level of public reception yet. So that's one thing that I'm watching, Suspicion. Okay. The second one, called Severance. So you can see Apple TV's got a one-name title theme going here.
Both as shows, yes.
So Severance, I've only watched 2 episodes of this. The plot is centering around a technology company based in the U.S. I think it's in Minnesota, not clear, that essentially has created a way that they can surgically divide someone's brain so that when they're in the office, they can't remember anything about their personal life. When they're at home, they can't remember anything about their work life. So I initially, before I even started watching this, I kind of thought that there'd be like a bunch of love triangles and people would be like fighting or breaking up or getting divorced or cheating on each other. And then they'd go to the office never to be happy and, collegial and buddies with each other. It hasn't gotten to that yet. Maybe it will. It's very slow, to be honest. So this is not something that I think, for me, it doesn't stand alone. It would definitely be a mooch rating for me right now. But it's not something that stands alone where I can just sit, watch this, do nothing else. It's definitely like a second screen kind of show where I could be emailing, chatting with people, checking out sports scores, something else, and have this on the background and still kind of like follow the story. It's not moving so fast that I feel like I'm missing anything and I need to go back. It's also funny, but not in like a ha-ha funny way. More of like uncomfortable silences or awkwardness, that's humorous, but not like laugh out loud, floor stomping funny. That's my second show.
So that's okay. I'll watch that too.
Number 3, I've only watched 1 episode, and I need to really make a decision because it's not. It's available through Apple TV Plus, but it's not an Apple show. It's available through AMC, so I would need to subscribe to AMC. It's called La Fortuna, starring Stanley Tucci as
love Stanley Tucci.
We love the Tucci, right? As a mariner, a guy who basically looks for underwater treasure.
Okay. Yeah.
And he is somewhere off the coast of Spain near Gibraltar. Gibraltar has this dual UK Spanish governance to it. So it's not clear what waters he's in. He's found substantial treasure at the end of episode 1, and now obviously it kind of sets it up that there's going to be a major political battle fight between him, the Spanish government, some lawyer, and so forth. I have to say I really enjoyed the first episode, but we've created this rating system for a purpose, right? It's intended to be pretty practical. I'm really on the fence about whether or not I need to subscribe to AMC to watch this. Maybe some of our listeners will give me some guidance. Maybe there's some recommendations for what else is on AMC that would justify a subscription. But I have to say, to the extent that you and I can find some other things to really put our attention to, it doesn't seem like this show by itself would convince me, I guess that's my rating. I guess it's a mooch right now. It hasn't convinced me that I need to do this. Although one night when it's like 11:30, I can't sleep. I've seen all my, I'm caught up on Expanse. I would probably give in to that temptation.
Interesting.
It would only have to be because of the absence of any alternatives, actually. But I like the show, and I love Tucci.
Well, since we have these these subscriptions, we should check them out, and we can provide a quick review if that's the case. I will check out all 3 shows, and then we can see if they're worth even discussing, or just give a quick 1-line rating and call it a day there.
Let's hope it's more than 1 line, but some of these may be that. But I'm trying to find out, now we're in a little bit of a dead period, right?
It's a bit of a lull, yeah.
We finished Love-uary, right, which is a big month for the Hallmark Channel, which you and I are not reviewing.
No.
But it's that period, right, where there's not a lot of new content being released kind of the end of February, March. It is a little bit of a lull period before kind of the spring, the summer blockbusters get geared up. The Batman is probably the only thing I think is being released in the coming week. What else is there? Do you know?
Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head, and that's the problem, really. In fact, I'm going to look it up now, and I have a sneaking suspicion.
I've been doing the same thing, and it's not that there's a lack of content. There's just a lack of anything that's really a blockbuster, or that I've really been... Oh, I do want to see this Tom Holland movie. What's this called?
Uncharted?
Yes, I would see that for sure.
Yeah, Uncharted is something that I need to watch as well. I think Doctor Strange 2 is coming out in May. That might be interesting. But yeah, I think it's, as you rightly pointed out, it's a bit of a lull. So this is actually a good time for us to get caught up on some of these streaming shows like you've mentioned, or some of these shows that are already kind of over and done with, like The Expanse, which also you are watching.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of what we need to do next is probably go watch Uncharted, so we can talk about that.
I think Uncharted, Batman, for sure.
Yeah, and so Batman in a couple of weeks. Uncharted, I think, is out now, so we can watch that. And I don't know what else is out.
Do you know what I really want? I want a listener to give us a suggestion and say, look, you've never heard of this movie or show. It's buried deep, deep, deep on Netflix. It's maybe even a few years old. It starts pretty slowly. The production value is kind of rubbish. But give it some time. You will fall in love with this hidden gem just like I did. I want this recommendation because I feel like there's so much good content out there. But unfortunately, it gets lost in the noise of so many different subscription services, new releases, just kind of being forgotten about. I'm sure that there is a 3-season, show out there that we've just passed over or missed because it didn't have the right lead, the right marketing budget. It was released kind of simultaneously with something else that had more fanfare. That's what I want to find, is that kind of like hidden gem, diamond in the rough, if you will. Because I feel like I would get more gratification finding that than I would watching Severance, which every time I log into Apple for the last 5 weeks has been the first thing that I see with the coming
blasted
soon,
in your face,
coming this Friday. That gives me no gratification, to be honest, because it's by default, it's free because I've got Apple TV Plus. It's there. I want to find, that hidden gem, even if, the production value is a little bit sketch. Even if it takes me 2 episodes, to try to understand the storyline, even if it's a little bit muddled at the beginning, right? Because not every show is so perfectly, the showrunners don't always have their footing at the very beginning. Sometimes, especially with something new or something that's a little bit off the beaten track or trail, it takes a little bit of time to kind of find the right tone and the actors to try to get into their character. But once they hit that stride, it's like super, super fulfilling. So please, someone out there, write to me, write to Pete, give us your heartfelt, passionate plea as to why we should be watching something that, you've fallen in love with. And we'd love to fall in love with it as well and do a review about it.
I think that's a really good idea. And so, guys, filmsandstuffpodcast@gmail.com. We're always listening. So you can visit our website, filmsandstuffpodcast.com.
We're always listening, unless we're talking.
Unless we're talking.
Pete, it's been a pleasure. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.